Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. It's Alice with Sage Leaf Studio, and if you're watching this soon after it drops, Happy New Year to you. If not, Happy New Year anyway. It's been a busy Christmas season, and I sound a little different because I have had a cold for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks now, and I'm still sort of sounding kind of yucky, though I am getting over it and everything. So everybody's getting on the mend, but it's just been busy, and I finished my video and posted it about the Advent journal calendar book things that I made my family, and that was a big hit. So I've moved on. I'm sick of looking at Christmas. I love Christmas. Don't get on to me, but man, I'm just kind of ready to look at some different things now. So anyway, so I was digging through some stuff and was looking at an old magazine that I had, not super old, but an old Somerset journal magazine, and noticed all the cool artwork that's in it, and thought, well, you know what? I want to make an artist's journal out of some of that stuff, and maybe a journal that somebody could use as an artist or whatever to collect thoughts and get ideas and put together whatever they want. So I'm just going to show you what I came up with, and think I'm going to go ahead and create another one because there was a lot of good stuff in those Somerset magazines, and they have like a lot of artist paper in there that leaves room to doodle, draw, paint, write, whatever, and some really nice kind of like cardstock paper in there. So anyway, but that's kind of what most of this is from. So let me get into it here. I just put a little kind of a stringy ribbon out of my ribbon collection around this. For this one, I wanted to do more of a kind of like a neutral tone base to it. There's some color in it, but I don't know. It's just, it actually started with this paper. This is not from the magazine, but rather it's a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper that I just did a deal where I, folded over uh, however much this is, probably about 3 inches. So made a 3 inch fold over, and so those are my pockets, and just split it down the middle so that they wouldn't get weird and everything. So this is just it's that that size paper, and folded up and made the pockets. So that's strictly what the cover is, the front and back cover. And I did kind of add some embellishments from different things, and like I like cutting out, words from the magazine and using letters and words and stuff just to kind of tie it all together. So anyway, and then added some cool stickers that I had. And there's actually on my desk at the time was a paper bag, the kind that you put like a bottle, wine bottle or whatever in from the grocery store. And so I used it in the journal. You'll see it here in a minute, but I had some scrap pieces left over. And so here's one of the scrap pieces on the front. I like, tying things together. I like some cohesiveness, but also some, different things going on too. So anyway, so here we go. So open it up. Here's our flap. Used some pieces from that magazine, some washi tape, and in the front pocket, I put a few pieces of just some index cards that I had tea stained or coffee stained, I don't remember, and just did a little inking around them because they're so stark white, just to jot down ideas and things on for whoever ends up with the journal. And this was actually from, okay, yeah, see, it was Somerset Studio, page 65. And this was about an author and some words that she had written about how she created a piece of art, and I think just some different things about what she focused on, what she used. So, I pick up stuff like that all the time, and oftentimes they just end up somewhere and I don't know where they're at. So it's nice to have a place to actually keep that kind of stuff, I think. And So, you know, what better than to have like an artist journal that's just going to be a place where you can keep it all together. So, also in the front pocket, and this is kind of like, well, what if somebody's, you know, kind of new to journaling or is an artist but doesn't really journal about it or know about keeping things? But if they don't know about journaling so much, I put a writing board in here, which is just simply a piece of, well, I can show you. It is the other side of this club cracker box that I was using. So I just, you know, cut it down and didn't cut it down too much, really just kind of rounded the edges and yeah, that was about it. And covered it with some of the pages from the magazine that had to do with artistry, but also to let people know what it is, because everybody doesn't know what a writing board is used for, and especially when you get into journaling and you realize, hey, it's hard to write on some of these pages. So I just, you know, put a little note in there. Oh, I didn't put any ink around this. I need to do that. When journaling, place a writing board behind your current page to provide a smooth writing surface is all it says, and then get rid of that or whatever. But you know, it's basically to say it's not too bad like when you've got several pages that are the same like these, but when you get into an area where you have you know, like here you've got some uneven stuff going on. There's not a whole lot of it, but like, okay, like this page. If you're ready to write on this page, there's bumpity stuff behind. I use some mixed media here and an envelope, and there's even a paper clip in the way. So it's nice to have a smooth writing surface to write on so that you don't end up with, you know, your letters smearing and falling off the page and the bumps and everything. So many people know about that, but some people don't. So there you go. So that's always handy to have just right here in your front pocket. And it's got a little cute little tassel-y thing. So this was another piece of 12 by 12 that I had. It was the same set, and these are kind of interesting. They're double-sided. Anyway, I just kind of like the color of it, so I just sort of made like a, for the signature, just sort of made it like its own little cover page. And then here is part of the bag that I was talking about, the paper bag. So it is there and back over here, and there's actually some pockets and some tags on this side. So that worked for that. And the other part of the bag, I'll show you in a minute. It's near the end. So anyway, just did a little collage here, was playing around with a cute little stamper, not stamper, like a cutter, like a, what am I saying, a punch. I got a cute little punch for Christmas that somebody gave me, and I was playing around with it to see what it looked like, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll just stick that piece of paper on there. More words from the magazine. Some more washi tape, just, I don't know, just looked like it needed it. Some avocado stained copy paper. It's kind of cool. It's got some kind of striations in it, and who knows how that happens. Maybe the rack that I put it on to dry sort of leaves these. You know what? We could get a little closer here, and you could see. I don't know. That may be too close. How about that? Anyway, there's some striations there. Take my word for it. So here is a page out of the magazine, and it is one of these artists' papers. And so it's got a little heft to it. It's a more like a cardstock, and thought that that would be cool within the signature. So there's that, and got a bunch of yummy, crinkly, I think this is coffee stained notebook paper. So I've got a few of those things, and then yet another page from the artist papers, and it's all kind of all blends together. I just really like these neutral tones that all these pages were, the vibes they were giving off. So thought that would be cool. I had another, just a part piece, so I thought, well, I'll just use it. So it's in here. Another one of the pieces from the magazine. Here we are in the center of the signature, and they also have pages in there that are doodle pages. So there's plenty of room to write, to doodle, whatever you want to do. If you're good, you can read here and there and keep going back and forth until you can read that whole paragraph. But there's a paragraph on the inside in the middle, and just, talking about doodling florals and that sort of thing. Practice one of Mary Lou's flowers, whoever that artist was they were featuring there. So anyway, but also just you could just write on it or do whatever you want to do. It's your journal at this point. So there's the other. So we're going back through. There's the other side of the smaller page. So this is what I was talking about. These are artist's paper, Stampington and Company. It just talks about the designer and the artist and all that and how they came up with that. So there's the other side of that one. Here's all those great crunchy, crinkly notebook papers. So on this one, I had this really pretty envelope that I've had for a long time. There's the flap part of it, and so I glued it down and made it a flip out. And so you open it up like this, and you can poke little cards. I thought this was a cool little, this is something from the National Park Foundation, who I think I give money to. That's probably how I ended up with that. Anyway, but it's inspiring. Look at how cool that is. I guess they're sequoias. Yeah, Sequoia National Park, but it's a black and white, and I just love, artsy things like that. So that gets tucked in there. This is a postcard, and it's upside down. There we go. It's a postcard, and it is of a building. I'm sure it's a Frank Lloyd Wright building. It's the Sherman M. Booth House in Glencoe, Illinois, 1911 to 1912. I love FLW. I'm about to cough. Anyway, I have a lot of cool Frank Lloyd Wright stuff, and I found this and some other stuff that I had recently bought, and thought, well, I love the color of that, and it kind of goes with all this stuff. So I just clipped it in there for inspiration. That's what this is about, inspiration. So there's that page. Here's all this other avocado stained pages. This is the other side of that, like I said, that paper bag. And this is just some tags, and they're pretty flimsy. They were just, some of the shinier paper that was in the magazine. And so I just thought I'd just make some tags. This one doesn't have a hole or anything. But, great place to write something on or make a note. Made some smaller ones that are shorter. I put, I had some, it's whatever's laying on the table at the time. I had been cutting up this older lacy doily, whatever it was, and I thought, you know what, I could just cut some strips away from it and make some tag frillies. So that's what that is. So, but you don't always have to put something in all of them, or somebody might like to add it themselves, who knows. But just made some pockets out of some other images that were in the magazine, and just left that blank. And then this is a belly band that is also from some of that paper. And I had, I don't know, I think maybe this was a card. Anyway, it's just the cover now, but it's kind of cute. And that little girl's just having a big time swinging. And this is just some extra cardstock that I had, and just kind of inked it up to make it more interesting looking. But those can go in here, and anything else that anybody deems worthy. And then flip this over, and there's just more. This is pretty busy paper. I don't know that I could necessarily write on it, but thought, I'd add some blank area here and some more art. And these were some cutouts, I think, from the cover. This is probably the most colorful part of this whole journal, is these colors right here. But here is what I was talking about. This is the bottom end of the paper bag. And why not just use it as a paper bag? I just, cut it in half, and the other half, because it's a long, it's for a wine bottle or whatever, so it's fairly long. just use that for the inside for that one page. But inside here, you can put some project inspiration. Like here's another card. I did a little collage with some different things that I had laying on the desk. And this is, I don't know, this is some woman who's peeling a peach. And I don't know what she's doing, but it's a postcard that I've had for a while. Her name is Jenny Britton Bauer. Oh, she's making ice cream. Anyway, it's from 2012, this postcard, and it never got used. So that's interesting. I don't know, isn't it? And then this was, I think, this obviously was the other part of this page that I used that was also a 12 by 12. And this just happens to be the other end of it. And I just thought, why not just stick it in here and maybe use it as a bookmark, maybe use it as inspiration, maybe give it away. I don't know. I just stuck it in there. But I thought these were, cool enough to stick in here. And anybody could put anything because it's just a bag. And it doesn't have like a box bottom. It's just this, and that it is pleated. And I didn't glue the pleats together because maybe you want to put, some things down inside the front part of it too if you want, and have them kind of sectioned off, but I wasn't too worried about it. So anyway, that goes in the back pocket. And this was another hunk of the images that were in the magazine. So that, and then I usually leave my back covers pretty plain. I did stamp it with my little logo because I'll probably sell this. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I think, oh, I know somebody who needs this, so I give it away. But this was just a doily that I had tea stained, and that was wraps around the front and back cover to a degree. And then I sewed this with some wax string and just did the 3-hole method. And then with the string, I don't know where this thing came from. Let's see if I can find the center again. Yeah. So just here's the wax string, and I left it long enough to where I could tie this little guy on, and he matches something else that I think I cut it off. It's this thing right here was attached to it, and I'm not sure what it even was from. I don't know. Maybe it went on, I don't know, but it was in some stuff that I found, and I didn't necessarily need this whole big thing. I'll use that for something else, but I thought this was kind of cool looking, kind of macrame-ish, and I like the brown color, so that got to be on this string. And then I just did a little bit of beadwork on this other string, and they're just hanging out here to be the center pieces that are dangling down. So anyway, I think, I'm calling it pretty much done, and I think I need to go back and ink a couple of things, but other than that, I think we're good. So there's that. So my thought was I'd like to make another one, at least one more, out of the same magazine, because there's just a lot of really good colors and I don't know, just some really interesting art. So I'm going to work on that and bring you along with me. Okay, so I've basically got my base done. And the only thing is I'm a little worried about how thin now this paper seems to be, because I'm afraid that this spine, and the more I add liquid or whatever to it, is probably not helping, but it's already got some breakage areas here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to ink it because I can see little hairy pieces around the spine. So this might not be the best paper to use for the cover, but I did go ahead and use part of this piece and cut it down and created the pockets that I wanted for the front and back if this ends up being the cover. We may have to do something else for the cover. I'm not sure yet. This may be like the beginning of the signature on the inside. That may be more suitable for this kind of paper. So I'm gonna, think about that. But I am going to. I really love this paper, and I think that I will put this on my club cracker box piece, and this will be the writing board for this journal. So I'm kind of liking that for that, actually. There's writing right there, and it goes that way, and that might be kind of cool to put on there, which I'm going to make it double-sided. So I'm just trying to figure out, this is a little bit larger. This piece needs to be evened up. I was just cutting it with scissors when I was cutting away the flaps and the sides and everything. So it is not square. It's not. Okay, it's the next day, by the way. I did end up pulling several more things out of that Somerset Studio magazine and got busy reading it again. And there's still a lot of pages that are still intact, but I did tear out a lot of things. I'm over here re-moistening my baby wipe because I know I'm going to need it later. So I put it in my paintbrush water stuff. And the reason I even have this out and I have some watercolors out is I got to thinking about this glassine envelope that was laying on my desk because I guess we just bought stamps. I think my husband did that for me. And it's too big for this project, but I wanted to kind of art it up a little bit. It's kind of, in its own right, I guess it's a thing, but I just wanted to kind of do something a little bit different with it and maybe give it some color. So I was thinking about just soaking it in some watercolors or letting, watercolors get on it. And so I'm going to save my mat by putting down this. It's almost like glassine. I don't know exactly what this is. I have a huge roll of it, and I just, I keep it. It's very noisy, so it's kind of cool. And I keep it around, and I'll use, a page over and over again. You can see I've got paint on areas of it where I've painted something. Man, what was that? Pepto-Bismol pink, whatever it was. Anyway, but I'll just, I'll use a swatch and keep using it over and over again. And I just want to protect my desk a little bit. So I've got this big, huge piece. I don't know I thought it was like butcher paper, but I know what butcher paper is, and it's porous. This is like, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is, but it's shiny. Anyway, I have a huge roll of it, and I'll throw a picture of the dispenser. I have this antique dispenser that I have it on, and I hope I never run out of it because I don't know where I would ever get any more, but I have a ton of it. So, but I'm throwing a picture up, I hope, of it, and how cool it looks. I keep it way up high on a bookshelf because I don't get into it very often. Anyway, I digress. And so here's this, and I think, so I've got my little mason jar with some water in it and a paintbrush that I don't really care about, ready to go. And I've got and I'm kind of doing really bold, bright colors for this particular art journal. Not so much the muted neutral tones that I did for the other one. So I'm thinking I want to stay with that kind of bold, and I don't know how much this glassine is going to pick that up, but the kind of bold colors that that I'm kind of going for, and I'll show you some of the other pages and images that I chose here in a minute. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Yeah, that looks pretty good. I want to get quite a bit of this. Where can you see? Can you see what I'm doing here? Yeah. So I'm trying to just concentrate and get a bunch. I just really want to put it, see if I can find a flatter way to do this. Some more water. Yeah. I think I can just, instead of having to put it over here, I think I can just lay it here if I don't get too crazy, because I've got a hump. I got a hump right there. So I think I can just do that. I just want some color over here. Let's get some more water. We'll add it. Okay. Kind of got that going on. So, but I don't want to do just one color. Let's see what this looks like. See if it's any different. That's really kind of an electric, I don't know, royal blue, I guess I would call it. This is more of a teal. Whoops, I got over on the other thing. I can wipe that off. Yeah, this is a little bit different. Get a bunch going. Let's get a little more water. It doesn't have to be terribly covered, but I do want some color on it. So, and maybe one more color. What else would be? Maybe a green. Let's see. This is kind of a mossy, dark mossy green. I don't know. You'll see when I get back to the guts of the journal what it is I'm looking for as far as colors go. And it doesn't have to be all specifically in the same color palette. It's just there were a lot of good images that were this, you know, like this stuff right here. Let's get this back over here where you can see it, like these blues. And I'll show you what else I did. Oh, here was the other side of that. And there's green and purple, and even some yellow, and lots of blue hues. Anyway, I'll show you what else, what I ended up choosing for the cover, because I did not, I did decide that I'm not using that smaller piece for the cover. It's going to be part of the signature. So, okay, so I've got some color here. I'm gonna scooch this over, get rid of my paintbrush, and let's just see if this will even pick anything up. I'm not as worried about the side with the printing. So it's picking some up. So I didn't want to use a ton, but I can go back and do another swatch of water. I'm just trying to it's kind of hard to get it to stay, because it's, you know, this is shiny, that's shiny, but it is picking it up. Okay, so that kind of all blended together. I'm not sure if I like that as much, but what I can do is I can go back, like I could grab my green right here, and I could kind of, you know, daub it right on here, and maybe give it some color over. Maybe let's do this corner. I mean, right now it looks like I'm just painting on it, so, which isn't a horrible thing. Remember, this is going to be an artist's journal. Let's get some more of that electric blue right here. And let's kind of do that. And it gets kind of muddy if you start mixing those colors, so you have to be careful there. Yeah, I kind of like that. And here was that little bit that I got in that other color. Drag that back over. Oh yeah, I love that color. That's right. That was that teal. We're gonna color the eagle, the logo. I don't know. I feel like I need some more of that green. Maybe over in here. And I'll leave some white. I don't mind doing that. Okay. But what I want to do is kind of lay it down. And now I'm going to get inky because I don't have any gloves on. I was hoping not to have to touch it too much, but I'm going to lay it down like this and pull it back up. Yeah, that way it doesn't look quite so smeary. There's a few spots where I kind of left it where it looks like I smeared it with the brush, but it's not horrible. Just color those back in, you know. Watercolor can be as forgiving as you want it to be, so I like that. Oh, I believe there is a squirrel outside as Riley is letting us know. And I don't know if I even need that much on this side, and I'm going to take what's already on there and kind of smear it around. I don't mind the little dots though. Let's see. I could do a thing where I do the flicky. I don't know if I can do it. No, we probably won't do it very well. I don't have enough. There we go. Now I'm making a mess of my whole desk, which the whole point was not to do that. Let's see. Let's get a little more color. Let's see about doing the green and flicking it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So this is going to be really wet for a while. That's why I wanted to get this done now. Yeah, that looks good. So that it can be sitting over and drying while I'm working on the rest of it. Oh yeah, there's that electric kind of blue. These are kind of jewel tones that I'm choosing here. So I'm actually okay with that. Look, I've soiled myself here. Not too bad. And you know what? I've re-wetted my baby wipe, so it should be able to just, yeah, it's just coming right off. So I think I'm in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna, yeah, I've got it all over me. So I'm going to, actually, this is going to take a long time to dry if I leave it on this thing. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper and I'm going to lay it over on top of this. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to I turned it back over, but I'm not pressing it down or anything, but I'm laying it on this piece of paper and I'm just going to set it off to the side and let it dry. And maybe that paper will absorb a little bit of it. And then I will take just grab a Kleenex. And I'm still a little raspy today. It takes a while to get to get over whatever this is we have going around. I mean, it turned into like a sinus infection, but it's like a cold, like allergies. We do suffer. Look at how beautiful that is. We do suffer from cedar fever here in North Texas. Let me get rid of this noisy thing. The mountain cedar that is down in the hill country of Texas blows up in the southerly winds that we still have a lot of. Now, let me wipe this down too. Blows up to North Texas and irritates the crud out of our noses. It's really irritating. So, and we all get kind of sick. And if you don't take measures early on to desensitize your nose, your sinuses, I'm putting my watercolors away so I don't forget. But if you have to kind of start taking measures ahead of time. Otherwise, you're going to get sick like I did, but I'm not sure that's what I even am suffering from. But anyway, okay, so here was what I thought was going to be the cover, and it's, you know, it's a decent size. It's about a little over 8 inches tall, but I was afraid about sewing into this spine. So I was thinking about this. This is a Stamperia set called, I think it's called Imagine or Dream or Dream and Imagine. I don't know. Imagine, I think, is what it is. And I've used several pieces out of the set. It's a 12 by 12 set, but I still had a few pieces. I love it. I did a a little journal for my eldest granddaughter, not for her birthday this past year, but the year before. And it's just such a pretty set, and it's just got all these cool images. And this was a page that I have now cut down, and it was, I guess, like this. I don't know if you can see all of it, but it was this. And so it's just got all this cool stuff in it, the word art. So why not use that? So I'm going to set that extra piece aside because I'll probably end up using it somewhere in this process. But anyway, I thought this was really pretty, and I made it larger. So this is 9 inches. So I cut 3 inches away, and this is 9 inches tall. And this is going to fit just fine in here. Plenty of room for, for give there. And then I've still got my pockets in here. My writing board can still fit in here. And I still haven't decided what the other side of it is going to be, but that's going to be the front side of the writing board. And I'll kind of denote that by putting whatever ends up on this side in the front. I'll probably put a hole, maybe with a hole reinforcer or a, not a grommet, but a eyelet, and some sort of a ribbon or twine or something. And I'll attach one of those little instructional things to talk about when you're journaling. Place a writing board, and I'll clip it to this so that whoever ends up with it will go, oh, that's a writing board. Okay, I wouldn't have known that. They can use it for whatever they want to. Anyway, so I've got all these components now. Oh, and I did go back through and I cut that page that had these, they look like postcards, but it was some of that writing, artist's paper, not writing, artist's paper pages that they put in the magazine. So I cut those. I rounded the corners. It also had a tearaway, and I actually kind of liked that idea of that being all bumpy there. So I left it. So that's fine. And there's the other side of it. So this was obviously a page, because here's the other portion of it. Anyway, I rounded the corners and inked them up on both sides, and there they are, and they'll be fine to tuck in, somewhere. Maybe even, in this little ditty here. So for now, we'll just leave them in there so we'll know where they're at. So this is going in here somewhere. And I did take a minute to round the corners and ink this, though it's really hard to tell because it's such a dark piece already. And I think that, it's really not so much about inking these as much as it is just to get, anytime you cut it, like we know I cut from here, and I'm just trying to get, see there's still some there. Let me get my water out of the way before I dump it over on my desk. But just trying to get those white cut areas calmed down, and that way you don't really see that it was just cut or whatever. It just looks like paper that's aged, which is the whole point of that. So anyway, so there we go. So that looks pretty good. So I've got this, and I've got that little booklet within, and then they've got these pages that are just share your creation and tag us. So they give you places to doodle. Right, here's your own collage fodder. Glue your favorite bits to this page. It's blank on the back, which is beautiful. So that could be, and this is a perfect size. It fits well within the, do I have it centered? Yeah, it fits well within this. So I think just making this a page inside of the journal will work. And I'm not worried about the fact that I kind of tore that out a little weirdly. Remember, we're not looking for perfection here. Now on this page, it says talking about texture. Who doesn't love a piece of mixed media art that is full of texture? There are so many clever ways to add texture to your work. Follow the steps below to fill in the spaces. Just giving you instruction for all different kinds of ways to do stuff. And that's fine. We can put this in here, and if somebody wants to play with that or use it for writing space, they could. And I could just do it this way. And this is also another page, working outside the palette. But what I thought would be cool, since this one's kind of formatted a specific way, which they all are. I mean, they're all portrait. But what about if I just take, and I think if I just fold it up, let's see if I'm kind of near it now. Fold it up here. Let's see if that's where I want it to be. Yes, I wanted my fold to be right above this block. So I'm going to go with that and really fold it. And this is decent paper. And you know, it's not like all of the magazine paper. Like some of the pages are definitely magazine-ish. You know, they're more glossy. They have a gloss to them, a sheen to them. Not super easy to write on or do stuff, but they provide all these cool pages that aren't that way. I mean, they're a little bit porous, so if you are doing some painting or some markering or really anything, pencil, you know, they definitely have you know, a more porous texture. They have a texture to them. I'm going to go ahead and get that. So what my thought was is, how cool would this be to attach to a page somewhere? And I'm not gonna sew it in. I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna glue. So I am gonna kind of get into the back side of this, which is this side here. But I'm gonna glue it down somewhere once we get into it. Just this side, okay? And then, but the person, whoever gets it, can open it, and then they can do their stuff in here. Because I like the idea of this page. And the other one's not bad either. But, you know, we're going to sacrifice that. And they could also do it, you know, on the other side. They could figure out how to do something on the other side here and here. The only thing they won't have access to is this quadrant, if you will, right here, because it's going to be glued to something. So there you go. Okay, is that the way? Yeah, that's the way I kind of wanted it to be, but you could fold it however you want to. So I've got this component, okay, and I've got this page, and then I've got this other one. So bring it back and mixed media. Painting and drawing repetitive lines and patterns can be an extremely relaxing activity. Paper scraps, pens, colored pencils create some repetitive patterns. I like this one too. Bring it back. It's common for most artists to follow trends. We all do that. We all get excited and inspired about new techniques and new products and dabble in them for a bit before we're on to the next thing. What about long forgotten techniques we used to love? Think back through your creative journey and choose something you haven't done in a while. Embossing, image transfer. Fall back in love with one of those basics. I was just thinking about, in the realm of like handwriting and lettering and block lettering and stuff like that, we used to do a lot of, I don't even know what it's called, but like, let me get a piece of paper. And I thought this was, you know, would be interesting. Here's another. My printer spit out like 8 pages doing like a printer test, and it really made me mad. So I'm trying to reuse all this paper for different things. But remember when we used to do these dot, like here's an A, but you filled in every the end of every line. I don't know if this one's that easy to do, but you circled it in, and I was just thinking about how we used to love to do that. And I think it still is around, and I think people still do it, but I don't see it as much. not like the beautiful, I call it like farmhouse, kind of the curvy calligraphy letters that people do. But I don't know. I was just thinking about that used to be a thing, whereas now it's not so much. And I'm sure, you know what, it'll probably come back around because everything's so cyclical. But that was my point on that. So I was thinking about bring it back. So this would be another good page to use. I keep thinking there's something there, but that's actually them doing that. This is an image. There's like a, I thought I saw a tear on one of these. That was my tear. It almost looks like there's torn, like this edge is torn, but it's not. It's actually straight, and it's them doing that to the paper. And here's like a smudge, and you can just see all this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's all this different textural stuff going on the page. And here's some like just specks, and that's almost like another little piece of paper, like it got torn up or an extra piece of paper landed on it or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty cool. I like the way they do that. So after all that, what I'm trying to say is I want to use this page in there as it is and just make it be, you know, part of a signature or whatever. And you know, they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. Anywhere, anytime, anyhow. But so I definitely want to use these two things. Definitely want to glue this down. Gonna use my little guy here. I was digging through and I found some more. Oh, where did I put it? Hang on a minute. So I found. Let's hope this doesn't blow away. I just sat and was watching TV and cutting words out of the magazine. So I'd like to use some of these. I might use this on the front, and you know, so that you know it's a journal. But just some different words that I think will be useful. See if you can even see. I'm setting them down here. Yeah. And just some images that I tore. I know I can use, like, not necessarily in this journal, but some of these words. I'm going to grab some coffee dyed or tea dyed paper to use for the bulk of the pages that are going to go in here, and start getting that all kind of ready and get my pages ready, and you know, ink around the edges. I may either tear or do, you know, some rounding or whatever on the pages. Also, I was digging through it's getting to be seed starting, a whole nother hobby, seed starting time uh, here in North Texas. And I like to start most of my seeds indoors. Some won't be able to because they have to be started outside. So it's going to be a few weeks. Well, I say that it's probably going to be at least 8 to 12 weeks before we can do that, before our average last frost date, which is mid-March. But anyway, I was digging through my seed packets to see what all I had, and remembered that I had these empty packets from Botanical Interests, and I just love their artwork. It's just so pretty. And I love pansies. That's a whole nother story. But I was thinking about how these vibrant colors would look really cool in this project. So I'm going to somehow try to incorporate those in here as well. So anyway, I'm going to get busy trying to find the rest of my signature components and stuff, so then I can get onto the business of embellishing, adding pockets, adding fold outs, adding my glassine envelope and stuff like that. So I'm going to gather and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm back and I've kind of zoomed out here so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. And now my light's kind of changed because it's a little later in the day, and all of a sudden we don't have a bunch of sun, and so I don't know. It may look a little different, but anyway, that's what we're going with. So here's where I'm at so far. Look, I found some S&H green stamps, and I don't understand why they say Sperry and Hutchison. I don't know what that means. Oh, my nails look terrible. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to look that up because Does it mean like these were from a certain store, or is Sperry and Hutchison who? Oh my God. Of course, it's S&H green stamps, S and H. I never noticed that before. Today I was what? I was today years old when I learned that S&H stood for Sperry and Hutchison. How funny. Okay. Well, anyway, I was just noticing that. I guess maybe I'm old enough to sit down and actually read stuff now, because I remember when we used to do these, I was really, really young. But I do recall them, and we had books of stamps and we turned them in for things. Anyway, I don't know what, but I just happened to come across that and I thought, well, that's kind of a fun thing. So maybe it'll go into the journal. But anyway, so here we are. And so this is going to be my cover, and I haven't done anything to it yet, but I'm gonna. And I ended up, so let's get this out of the way. I ended up with a pocket in the front, and I decided that my little booklet wouldn't really do well in a pocket, either in the front or the back. It's just a little kind of big, and if I wanted to put anything inside of it, it was really going to be tight. I could have made a pocket back here on the inside back cover that was a little bit wider, but it wouldn't have been much because I'm pretty close to the edge on this one. So I kind of played around with this one, and that's how I decided, you know what, it's not going to work, because I had that other piece from it, which is right here. And I could have cut it way, way, way wide and just been right up on the edge of the spine and the edge of my booklet. But I didn't, it just didn't seem like it was going to work very well. And I didn't know how much I was going to put inside this thing. So I'll show you where I'm at with that here in a moment. I hear something weird outside. What is that? I don't know. Well, hopefully you can't hear it. So I ended up with this pocket, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick some things in there, some inspirational things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But here's my booklet, and I decided it's really just a folio. I was going to sew a little signature with stuff in here, but I like how it's kind of laying not completely flat, but it already closes pretty good, and I don't think I want to mess with that. And I'm going to have all that signature business going on in the big booklet. So this one is going to be more of a folio where you can gather mixed media stuff. I put a tea bag on the front of this just to give it a little bit of structure and texture. Anyway, gathering things, mixed media things, impressions, gathering mixed media impressions. I don't know, but did that. And then so here is the writing board. And I ended up, okay, so this is the back, but it's also pretty if you're taking it out. And I ended up using this image that I think I kind of showed like I was going to use it on the front of that, torn up, but it ended up fitting on here. Actually, a little area that it was torn, but I didn't care. I got it on there as best I could, cut it and rounded the edges and inked it. And so this is the front. Well, you know what? It can be whatever anybody wants. That can be the front if they want it to, but this is what I'm putting in there to be the front of the writing board. So I just clipped it with there's a really shiny gold paper clip. And then just put my little instructional thing about journaling, using a writing board and journaling. So that goes on the inside of this here booklet. And I actually left that hanging out, and it could. And I'll still probably go ahead and put a hole in it and, figure out if I'm going to do a ribbon on it or whatever. And then over here are just some things that I stuck in here. The person that ends up with the journal could keep these things and use them for like writing on, use the colors for inspiration. So here's some more of those, the other three of those postcard looking type things that were part of that magazine. So they're in here. I stuck a couple of, I didn't, I didn't ink these, but I will. But index cards that are stained. So I've got those in here, and I've got put that like that. And then these are like dividers that are in, that go in a box, or I'm not sure where they came from. It says Hobby Lobby stores. Oh yeah, it is. It's those boxes. They're really cool, and they have dividers, and you can put pictures in them. Because who prints a picture out anymore? Well, sometimes I do actually, but that's what they were kind of for. So to kind of keep those things divided. But I guess at some point I stained them up, and now you can either write on them, glue things to them. They can be whatever. Let's put one like that so that it's weird and different. Okay, well anyway, so this is another tuck pocket to be used for whatever you want that you've gathered, that you're getting inspiration from, that you liked, whatever. And I just thought that was good to go for that. So I ended up grabbing another piece from the book, from the magazine. This was another one of the artist's papers. This one's kind of cool because it's got stripes on it, but it was bigger, so it was like this. And I guess can you see the whole thing? Yeah. And there's another little piece missing there. It's actually right here, but I cut it up and used it as a belly band for my little booklet, my little folio that's going in the back here. So that ended up taking care of that issue that I was having with it being so wide. And I could have cut it down, but I didn't want to cut it down. So I just made a belly band, and my sewing machine was just kind of sitting there. So I thought, I might as well sew it first. And so I sewed the piece of paper. Obviously, I didn't sew it onto here, or it wouldn't be a belly band anymore. So I sewed around that, just kind of did a squiggly line, which I'm very good at. Thank you very much. And just, kind of made it to where this whole thing, along with its embellishing, can fit in here well. And then while I had it, here's that other card. I thought maybe I'd take it out and put it in here. While I was at it, I was digging around in card stuff, looking for things that I could use to tuck into the pockets and different things for inspiration. And I came across this was a thank you card that a friend of mine gave me years ago. And I've actually had it up on a bulletin board. I always thought it was so pretty. It's kind of got these flaky, which some of them are coming off. See right there, like that one just came off. So where did it go? It's down here somewhere. Anyway, I've got them all over the place because I keep doing that. So eventually it'll be bald, I suppose. But anyway, it's got this cool kind of shimmery, iridescent, flaky pieces of whatever it is, plastic. I guess you'd call it glitter, but that's kind of a large format glitter. But anyway, I thought it was really pretty. It says grazie, merci, danke, arigato. I guess that's Japanese. I didn't know how to say thank you in Japanese, so I think that's it. Gracias and thank you. So that's kind of cool. And I had, I guess, just taken it off of whatever, because here's still the kind of glue remnants that were on it. But I thought, well, you know what? It kind of needs something, so I sewed around it as well. And it did okay. And I even was okay with I just wanted to leave the dangly. I could tie those in a knot so that they won't come unraveled, but nah, it's okay. It's just imperfect art, remember? So I thought that would be pretty tucked in with some other things. I'll probably look for some other things to tuck in there as well. And then here is the signature. So I did go with this page, and I actually did go ahead and I haven't sewn this together yet. I punched around the corners this real pretty, I guess it's that one, yeah. So it's that little guy right there that makes this cute little 3 bumpety corner thing. And so that's really the only kind of fancy thing that's going on in here at this point. But I did all the corners, front and back, like that, and And then this was the piece of paper. And I decided that this was a good place to put this fold out. So we're dealing with this and this, and it's just kind of neat because you can do whatever you want to do. Now, this is going to be attached in here, so it's not like I'm going to be able to move it around. But while it's in there, you can fold it out, doodle on it, do whatever you're going to do. Just use it for writing if you want to. Lots of good blank area to write. So that's that. So that is the outside cover of the signature. And so that is doing that, and I like it. And the only thing is I want to remember when I do go to sew it, I want to make sure that all the pages are pretty straight with each other from top to bottom. And I do want to make sure, since this is a little bit smaller, I want you to be able to see those corners if you can. I don't know that it's really going to show up because it's going to be way down in here and everything. But, you know, if somebody opened it up and just happened to see those little cute little corners here and here and here, just those are going to be a little more hidden because they'll be sewn. Anyway, so this is the signature. So I just got a couple of these sheets. I've got this page here from the book, from the magazine. This avocado dyed paper, another blank copy paper. And this one's in this way, bring it back, the mixed media. So I am so excited to show you this. This is, I'm going to keep this out like that so I'll remember where I decided I wanted it. But this is my glassine, yummy, crunchy, noisy envelope from the post office. And I didn't want to cut it or, you know, alter it in any way other than what I did. But I just folded it in half, and sure enough, it fits perfectly inside the signature. And I thought about putting it in the middle, but if I want to catch, you know, I mean, I really like to sew kind of somewhere within, like, for sure the top inch, but maybe even less than that from the edge for my, you know, sewing. So here and smack dab in the center and here. So I'm going to scoot this down to down in here somewhere. And so it's going to be grabbed by not this one, but it will get grabbed by the middle and the bottom stitchings. So it should be fine. So yeah, so look at how pretty that turned out. That was where I was just flicking it with the watercolor, the water and a little bit of the watercolor on the brush. So yeah, I like the way it turned out, and I like the way it turned out here too. Look at that one. Look at all that smudge. And it didn't do anything to the printing. So obviously it's you know, held fast. So anyway, so I wanted it to be about right up in here. And then, so you open that, so this will be stitched, so you'll have a pocket. And you can put whatever you want to in it. More cards, you could, you know, find a card or something. I may use some of that just to kind of make some different little things and give people ideas and places to write. So there goes that. So here's our center. And I think I'm going to leave it. I was thinking about putting something smaller in the middle, but I don't know. I'm thinking maybe this is going to be just fine. I'm going to, you know, sew it all. I'm not sure if I'm going to use thread or if I'm going to use some waxed string. I usually, when it's something kind of chunky like this and kind of rustikish, you know, colored and stuff, oftentimes I'll use the wax string because it just holds up so well. But I don't know, because I was thinking about doing some beading on the spine on the outside, and I don't want big beads, and sometimes the little beads don't do great on the wax string. At least the wax string that I have is kind of thick. Let me reach here. So it's not the thinnest of, you know, strings, but I love the color of it and the feel of it. So I don't know. So that's something that I'll think about soon, because I do want to start getting on the sewing business of this. and then finish, doing some embellishing after that. So anyway, that's how it turned out. There's the other end of that guy. More good pockety, crinkly, noisy pocket there. And then we've got that guy. And then you come over here, and this is very busy, but I'm okay with it. So I'm thinking, since I've still got a little bit of thread in my machine, some more black thread, I'm thinking that maybe before I sew my signature in and get all this done, I may have to take these things back out just so I have some room to work here. But I'm thinking about maybe doing some sewing on the front and put some mixed media pieces. I don't know yet. Usually I have some kind of weird stuff sitting around on my desk. Oh, I did have another idea. So I was playing around with these seed bags, seed packets, and I was thinking this would be a cool flip. And the only thing is I don't know if I want to like glue that back down so that it just becomes sort of this pocket, or just leave it so that you can read. I mean, it's going to be upside down, but you can certainly turn the book around and read it, because there's interesting stuff on the insides of these packets, and that's really a lot of why I buy a lot of seeds from these people, because they give you a lot of information front and back, but they also, there's recipes sometimes in here. A lot of the lettuces that they have recipes for salad dressings and stuff, and I just love them. So anyway, but I think this is a real pretty thing. So it may go on one of the signature pages or something. Just, stick it in here and find a blank page. I actually thought maybe I would dedicate one page. I don't want to junk this up too much for the person who's going to end up with it, because I want everything to be their idea, but maybe do something and do sort of like a collage page, but have this be free form and just glued down here, and flip it open, and then you can do this. Maybe I'll put a little, glue something down so this isn't flapping around. You have to actually kind of work to get it, out from underneath it, but then you can do whatever you're doing. I don't know. But I just thought that was pretty, and so I definitely want to use that one. What about some paint swatches? Because this is all about art and getting inspiration. So what if I find just some swatches? And okay, I'm not necessarily one of these people that goes and just cleans out the hardware store of their paint swatches. I don't think that's really cool. I guess I shouldn't really say that I have an opinion about it, but all of these are colors that I was looking at and trying to decide about when I was getting ready to paint something. I do a lot of painting too. I used to. I shouldn't say I do. I used to do a lot of painting. But I also, I need to know if, what I'm doing is going to work. So I get different swatches with all the different hues and stuff, so that I can see like what different colors of the purple I want. So okay, those might be the same. Yeah, Studio. I don't know why I have two of those, but who knows. And sometimes I do get more than one, especially like if I'm doing wall paint. So this kind of falls over into DIY projects around the house. Like these are fairly new, and I know why they're in here, because we just did a remodel on one of our guest bathrooms down on this end of the house, and I was trying to decide on the wall color. It's a small bathroom, so I wanted to go with white. And there are as many whites as there are, well, I think there's more whites than there are blacks in the color scheme of things, or grays. I guess I should say grays. There's tons of grays, but they go yellow, they go, kind of blue, they can be warm and go kind of pink, and there's just so many different hues and shades of. So I did have to grab some, and I honestly can't even tell you. I know I used Ceiling Bright White. Or did I? maybe we decided not to do, almost always do my ceilings in white. I don't know why we're talking about this, but I'm going with it. But now I'm thinking that maybe we did the whole room in one color because it didn't matter because it was such a small room that it didn't really matter. Plus the fact that I was going with white. So white on white. Remember which one I used. It wasn't, might have been Ice Cube, but I'm thinking no. I don't know. Anyway, these are the ones that I ended up with having left over. And so that's how they made it into this kind of worn out envelope here. And I think it's funny because I turned it over to see what kind of envelope it was, and it's a window envelope. And it says no, no, that's it. So what it means is when I first started using this envelope, whatever I stuck in here, those were the no's. Those were the ones I didn't want. But I think that I've just kind of kept it and added to it as I've, you know, decided that I've, either got extras of things I did use or they were things that were no. And I knew that. And so I filed them away. So that really took a long time to tell, but I'm thinking that maybe, I don't know, some of these are kind of fun colors. I don't want to like fill the whole booklet up or, all the different things up with all these, but I do kind of think these are kind of fun. Okay, the sewing commenced, and I ended up with, I don't know, just some weird things. I did have some things on my desk. They were just a little further away, not in arm's reach, but close. So I found this flower part bit and the some some thread left over from actually from what I just did with the other things, my belly band and that other card that I did. The black thread from that, and I mixed it with some blue embroidery thread that I had kicking around over here, and some lace, a couple of pieces of lace. These were actually left over from the piece that I did the, oh, where is it? Right here. So in the other journal, these pieces right here were just some long stringy pieces, and they're part of the tags that are down in that. I'm not going to open the whole thing and show you, but these were just left over from that piece of lace. Crocheted something or other. Maybe it was a doily. I don't remember what it even was or if I ever had the whole thing. But anyway, so just kind of wanted to have, and I had a little, I don't know what these are. These are, I think they come on, maybe they were pot holders. I don't remember, but something that I have, and these were sewn onto them, and I just kind of glommed onto them and at some point inked them up, and I guess I stamped on them. I think I was just trying out some stamps. And so I threw them in a drawer and I keep running across them. So anyway, that's one of those is right there. And then that word journal. And so I just did all that up in this corner and just sewed ever so lightly. I will admit I did in the beginning, I did go ahead and glue things. As a matter of fact, there's a glue string right there. I glued these items down to a degree so that they'd stay put while I was trying to sew. And I did have a little bit of a thing with my thread, so I'm glad I looked. And then the other thing I'm glad that I thought about was I was thinking, well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and sew around this, and that way it'll look kind of cohesive with that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is my pocket. If I sew that, I'm going to sew the pocket. So I didn't want to do that. So that actually looks kind of, there we go. But I didn't want to sew my pocket shut because then I wouldn't be able to fit all my cool things in the front there. And then this is just what I ended up with. I was trying to decide if I want to try to, I didn't end my thread where I began. And so I'm afraid if that's a little bit loose, I may either tie knots in the ends of both or try to figure out a way to tie a knot between the two pieces. That sounds kind of silly, I guess, but because I think it'll catch on things. But anyway, I'll make sure I kind of batten that down. And, there's going to be cards and stuff in front of it. So I don't care if you can see it or not. It was kind of tearing the paper just a little bit. Must be how my thread, how tight I have um, my stitch. I'll get it out here in a minute. So anyway, that's probably the extent of my sewing because I know I'm running out of that color and I'm going to have to change my spool and probably my bobbin. Even if I go back with black, I've got to put more on there. So anyway, so my cover is done, I guess. I don't know. I may put stuff on the back. I may still add a few things up here. But as far as that particular kind of stuff, I think I'm good on the mixed media. And then I left the word art where you could see it. And I just hate to cover up all these cool images, like I said. So anyway, I think before I go cramming everything back in, that I'm ready to sew my signature in. So I'm just going to make sure, I want to get all my pieces that are sort of the same size together. I want to check and make sure that that my envelope is where I want it. And I think that's probably good because I'm definitely not going to, it's going to be a good place for it in two places that I'm going to sew, probably up here and then right here. So that looks good. And the only other thing I wanted to make sure to do was my little inside cover. I want to make sure I've got it in the center of my, very similar in size. But I wanted to make sure that I had some of my other papers showing. So I think we're good there. So I think, and then I've got my little flip out and I'll just be careful. It's not going to bother it. It's far enough away from the spine that it's not going to matter. So I think I've got it in pretty good shape. Okay, actually, it's a few days later, and that's how it always goes with me. I'm working on something, and then I got to stop and have life and do whatever, and then I can come back. And I was hoping that this morning early was going to be sunny and the light was going to be good, but it's very gloomy outside. But that's okay because maybe we're going to have some rain, and that would be great. So here's what I came up with. On this journal, remember this one, I'm going for color. So it's very colorful. I went in and embellished the front, did my sewing, added a couple of little bobbly things here. I don't know, let's scoot in while we're doing this and you can see. So here's some little dangly things. Okay, I've got my ribbon, and this time I just sort of did the deal where I put the ribbon in between here and here on each side, and then just wrapped it around, and I can just secure it. And maybe I should still, I don't know, I need to stop saying that. Maybe I'll just keep adding, and I really shouldn't, but I could put some more, like some beads or something here so that would kind of hold that. But anyway, that's what I ended up with. And in my center my centerpieces of string. I ended up with these beads. And these were just, laying around here on my desk in this little, I don't know, I must have disassembled something that had shells in it. And maybe this is more than one piece of something that I did, but this was like, this is where the pieces of lace came from, were in this tray, this bowl that I had here. So anyway, trying to use up things on my desk. So, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in just a second. Yes, I'm still gravelly. Anyway, so this ended up being like this, and I embellished a little on the front here. So it says journal here, art, find creative things. So just using up pieces from that magazine, and I ended up with this. I hope you guys can see it. Let me scoot you in just a little bit here. There, is that okay? I'll try to keep in frame. So this is, let me change my glasses so I can see it too. So this ended up being a pocket, and this is a card that I sewed around a little bit. And this is another one of those postcard looking things that was in the, they weren't really postcards, but it was separated into 4 different little quadrants, and they weren't even the same size. There's 2 larger and 2 smaller, but I thought they were cool and they looked kind of like postcards. So that's in there. Then my signature, and I just embellished with a few words and different things. This was actually part of the paper, but these are glued on. And then I've got all this beautiful writing space in here. That's the one side of that. That art paper I added, because I wanted to add a few little things in here, but I didn't want to junk it up, and whoever ends up with it be like, well, what am I going to add to it? I mean, what can I do? It's already filled, so it's for someone to fill it, whether they write in it, whether they paint in it. It's just an art journal. You do whatever you want to do. There's the other side of that. Here's our lovely post office envelope, and I did end up putting some paint swatches in. I just thought these were they're kind of primary colors, more or less. And this was left over, so here's yet some more pieces from the magazine and a little bit of washi tape to kind of hold it down. And again, just trying to use up a few different things, some mixed media, more blank pages. There's our center with our wax strings and our cute little, I thought those were kind of cute and very colorful based on all the colors that are in here. I mean, you can really use whatever. This is a collage page that I made just, for fun. And this is that seed packet that's just tucked in. So it's a flip out. And then if you want to turn it around and read it, it's upside down, but all the stuff that went on inside the seed packet. And it just gets held down by this little guy right here. And my S&H, my S&H green stamps, I forgot to tell on myself. I need to tell my mother that I wonder if she knows that it was Sperry and Hutchison, because of course she's older than me, and she might remember stuff like that. She would. If she knew it, she would remember it. But I forgot to mention it. So I'm going to see her later today. So I'm going to ask her. I'm going to try to remember to ask her if she knew that S&H stood for Sperry and Hutchison. So anyway, there's the other side of our envelope. And I had that one piece left over from the cover. And so I thought, well, I'll just make a little tag. And I just used my pinking shears and popped a little hole up there. And I just love those colors and all that rusty look to it. And so I put that in there. And, I had that piece of paper that I was using for my to dry my envelope on, and you know, it looked pretty good. So I thought, well, I'll just take it and use part of it. So here's the other one just sitting here, the other end of it. But this I thought was, you know, it was okay, and it kind of matches where I put it. So how about just a little, like a little card, and then just kind of embellished it with a couple little things that were sitting around that was out of the magazine. So why not? Because we can. Okay, so there's that. The other side of one of those pages. That one's cool because it's got a lot of patina to it. And there we go. There's another one. All this good, yummy blank space for anybody to do whatever they want. And then this was that other page, the other side of the signature. And so this is where I ended up putting the flip out. And I can't see it all, but this was the one that I folded so that you could, you know, fold it out and use it, write on it if you want to, or do art on top of my beads here. Anyway, so that, and then very busy here in my belly band is the one that I thought was going to be the outside outer cover. And I'm glad I didn't do that because it would have just, I think the spine just would not have held up. But for this, it's fine. So now it's a folio. I've got a tea bag. I've got some more words. Gathering mixed media. It's almost like I'm saying a sentence, but I'm not necessarily. And then in here is our writing board. So you got to go all the way to the back. Somebody's got to look at this whole thing to see where the writing board is. But I put my little, and I did ink it. I think I went back and inked the one in the other, in the muted tones, not jewel tones, neutral tones journal. I went back and inked it so you could see it better, but just given the instructions about what a writing journal is. And I added an eyelet and just a little bit of twine because I didn't want this to be something too, have something too stringy hanging out because it's got to fit under that belly band. And then here's all that, you know, the cards. Like this was just a card that was in with my cards. I think it's the front to a greeting card of some sort, or a note card. And I guess Jack, whoever Jack was the artist here. But I folded it over, and now it's just a card for, you know, doing whatever you want to do with it. More index cards. Here's the rest of those other cards that I was talking about. See, these are the larger format ones. And then these dividers that were kind of cool. And they're in there too. So all of that is in there. So there we go. And it just tucks in the belly band right back here. A minute, I gotta make sure I've got these kind of battened down so they're not poking out and causing issues. And again, I just used this little bit of twine that was hanging around on my desk so that it wouldn't be too obtrusive and not fit inside the belly band. So there we have it. I thought it looked pretty good, and I'm happy with it. And I just wanted to say that, and this is sort of a little bonus, and if you've hung on this long, you might as well stay just a couple minutes longer. But I was thinking about how much stuff it takes to put together a journal. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but sometimes it can be a lot. And when you want all the different, like the mixed media, the paper, the ribbon, all the different things, you need to have a pretty good stash. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy stuff, but you know, keeping things like ribbon, or you know, things from packaging that, you know, you think, well, I can use this in something somewhere. And that's what I end up grabbing for a lot of my things, is just stuff that's kicking around on my desk. So so that being said, check this out real quick. So let's get way out here. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and lest you forget, here's the other one. So aren't they pretty together? kind of cool when you think about it. I think that my camera is not quite the way it should be. Anyway, but let me put those out of the way and let me just show you. This might get a little noisy, but let's just do a quick recap of things that we use. Straight edge, rulers for measuring, rulers for tearing, cutting implements for cutting, of course, more cutting, more cutting. I'm dragging out everything that I used during the process of making these. So all the cutting things, remember I used my, can't get it open now, but my watercolors. And then of course I had to have a brush and a water vessel and my dirty baby wipe. And I always keep it in something so it doesn't mess up my desk. I've got my scrap box right here. Don't forget all the glues. I ended up using art glitter glue, glue stick, and some Fabri-Tac. I've got my ink over here with my dauber, a pen. Got a few different, I don't think I used any other colors, but actually I didn't use vintage photo. That was on something I was just doing just a minute ago. Walnut stain, you know, scrap pieces of paper. I guess I could put this in there too. But then, you know, the serial number of my printer. Anyway, my glasses, you know, I got to have my glasses. Actually, it's these that I'm wearing right now. So I switch off. And then we've got, you know, just different little things. Like here's the jar, little plastic jar that I keep my paper clips in, just the gold one. Actually, there are some silver ones in there too, but just for that. Here's the string. We'll have more of these, but this is the one that I used out of. We've got my awl and my wax string. We've got another hole punch. Well, when I say another hole punch, I also used, for that eyelet, I used my crocodile, and then I used this on that other tag. And then I've got my eyelets, a little baggie of them here. I'm trying to use up, these are some old ones that I have. I don't know if you can see them very well, but I used a red one. What else? I used a circle punch. I used my creaser, burnisher. I used these two corner punchers. All right, these were my kind of plain ones. And these were my kind of fancier ones, which I didn't use a lot of. But there's that. I used that little thing of washi tape. I have a lot of washi tape, but I only used that one. I used one of these little, kind of like a safety pin, but that's what I used for those little charm looking beads that I put on the front. I even have my candle that I like to burn. Just depends on whatever candle I'm using at the time, but that's going. Usually when I'm crafting, I like to have a candle burning. Remember, I was doodling on this to show you what I was talking about as far as, you know, previous art trends. And then this little bowl of ditties that, a little beater thing, beater wire, beading wire. Anyway, all that good stuff that was sitting around here. And back when I was painting, I had to use this crinkly good stuff. And then you've got all of this stuff. This is still leftovers, pieces from the magazine that I didn't end up using, pieces that I tore off, pieces that I cut away, more scrappage, all that different stuff, you know, and I usually leave it all sitting here until I'm completely done because I keep grabbing from it. You know, I didn't use all of it, but I used some of it, and I might go back and add things at times. So I'm never really sure if I'm going to use anything until I'm completely done. Remember, we dug around in these. That had to come out. There's other things that I'm sure I put away and I just kind of forgot that I used them. But just to say, this is really, how it goes. There are a lot of things that go into making a journal and you don't realize. And then everybody's like, oh my God, I've, you know, just completely trashed my desk. No, you haven't. You can get it back in order after everything's said and done and you're completely done. Who's ever completely done? When is art ever finished? But just to say that, once you say it's done, you can go back and put everything back in its place. I think that's the most important part, is just making sure that you have a place for everything so that you can start again. And, and then that way you feel kind of refreshed and renewed. So this was a long video, but I had fun doing it, and I hope that you got something out of it. And if you have any comments or suggestions, or if you've done something like this before, let me know in the comments. Please give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you can. And I will be marching on to my next project, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.